This week in All About Android, we discuss some major changes happening at Google's Alphabet, vulnerabilities found in your Android devices, and what is Qualcomm up to in Hawaii? We've also got a packed hardware shack with our guest, Matteo Doni, and we'll discuss some of the Play Store's 2019 picks of the year coming up.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of All About Android is brought to you by Plex. With Plex, you can organize and stream your personal collection of movies, TV shows, music, and photos anywhere on any device. Go to plex.tv/twit and enter code TWIT10 to get $10 off a lifetime Plex Pass subscription. This offer applies to new subscribers only. And by ExpressVPN. Protect your online privacy with one click. Yes, it's that easy. For 3 extra months free with a 1-year package, go to expressvpn.com/allaboutandroid.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to All About Android. This is episode number 449, recorded live on December 3rd, 2019. We are your source for all of the news, the hardware, and the apps that you need to know. For you Android faithful, I'm Florence Ion.
And I'm Ron Richards, and I was not ready for you to improvise the script.
No, I was not, but my brain, I started to think about something else, and then...
In the middle of doing the intro to the show.
I couldn't help it. My brain sometimes has a mind of its own.
Well, I don't blame you, because once again, Jason, our dear beloved Jason Howell, is still on vacation. In fact, today's his last day of vacation. He's actually en route back to California, but didn't make it back in time to do the show. So it's just you and me, Flo, again. But we are joined by a series regular, Mr. Matteo Doni. Welcome back, Matteo.
Welcome back, Matteo.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me back on All About Android with our friend sitting next to you, Ron.
I'm doing my best to ignore that. So, Matteo, if we can get your full shot, Victor, where are you broadcasting from?
So I am broadcasting from my employer's office in Shenzhen, China, where I came to clarify some terminology from last time I was on All About Android. We were discussing shiny Chinese phones, such as the Honor 9X, the Huawei P30 Pro, and so on. They're very shiny. So I thought, let's go.
And fingerprinty, apparently.
And fingerprinty, yes. Fingerprint magnets. So I decided to come along and clarify the terminology. Is it acceptable to say Chinese phones?
We're still having
and apparently it is.
It's still not okay to say Chinese phones. it's just not.
Is that because there's a potential issue with the name of the dog breed, the Chinese dog?
There is a link in the doc that links to a Chinese dog.
Oh, jeez.
Its lifespan is 12 to 15 years. It weighs no more than 16 pounds. It's best suited for families with kids and other pets and first-time dog owners. It's comparable to the Pekingese and the Shih Tzu. Oh, yes. Okay, I think Chinese is Shih Tzu and Pekingese bred together. This is not a dog breed show, okay? This is all about Android, not all about...
Exactly. In the context of All About Android, we'll talk about the shiny Chinese phones.
I'm going to defer to Flo. I'm going to defer to Flo for whether or not Chinese is okay. I feel like it's not, and I'm the oldest,
I feel like we should just keep moving forward because we have so much to get through today. Including, Matteo, you have like quite the hardware showdown to show us. I even brought some hardware to the table today, physical hardware. So I feel like we should maybe get into the news because we actually have kind of a big story to discuss. It's kind of a family meeting kind of moment.
It's a big news week, actually.
It is, for as quiet as it's been for a Tuesday.
Yeah. So let's dive into it. Victor, take us away. Get us to the news.
Before we get a letter from Sergey and Larry, we have a special message from Burke's mom.
Jeez.
In honor of Matteo being here.
And what is that message?
So Burke's mom painted something nice for Matteo's return to the show.
Okay, so a couple of things. One, that is enormous.
Yes.
The painting. So good job, Burke's mom. Two, does Burke's mom know who Matteo is?
I don't know. Burke just came up to me earlier today and he said, "Hey, look what my mom sent me." And I was like, "Cool, Matteo's on the show today."
So Matteo, how would you rate this painting of a goat?
I would say this is a beautiful painting. It's an excellent representation of a real-life goat. I can see some matting in the fur. And yes, great painting. Where can I buy a print of this?
We'll put you in touch with Burke and Burke's mom.
Burke can rep his mom as a talent agent. All right, cool. Well, speaking of Burke, and for those longtime listeners know, Burke is master of all things at Twit. Earlier today, he emailed us with some urgent breaking news, and honestly, we haven't used it that much this year. So, Victor, we got some breaking news. And Victor's not prepared.
Can you put it in post?
Think you can get me with some goats? I'll get you with breaking news.
All right, you got me. I can't find the breaking news.
Oh, wow.
Jason!
The point goes to me. All right, Flo, take it away with the breaking news.
Oh my gosh! All right, we do have to bring it back down to tepid because this is kind of
serious.
Tepid news. Well, it's serious news, but maybe you're probably not going to be surprised when I tell you that Google co-founders Larry Page and Sergey Brin have officially relinquished control of Alphabet to our very own CEO of Google, Sundar Pichai. So I kind of feel like this is a move we were expecting just with the way that things have been going. The fact that Sundar Pichai has been the spokesperson, the face for a lot of what has been happening internally and externally with Google. For those who've been following along, it's been quite a year for Pichai to kind of like step up and into this, really prime leadership role. So Larry Page is officially stepping down as CEO. Both Page and co-founder Sergey Brin, they will no longer be involved in day-to-day operations of Alphabet. They have officially ceded all that to Sundar Pichai, and this actually marks the first time Page won't have oversight of at least some of the company's operations. He had turned over the CEO role before in 2001 to Eric Schmidt, but then Page took on a product role. He took over Google again 10 years later when Schmidt had stepped down. But now officially, Sundar Pichai is here to take over the helm and I guess lead us in. I mean, we've already seen him lead us with, all things Android and related to Android, including, Chrome OS, the device structure, development. But now it looks like he's going to be leading us with Waze, not Waze, Waymo, the self-driving car initiative. Maybe Waze has something to do with that too.
If they don't have Waze installed in Waymo, then they're doing something wrong. That's for sure. Considering they own both, but yeah. so many like different projects. It is big news, but it's not something that we're going to immediately see the effects of. Ron, I want to know, and Matteo, I want to know how you both feel about this, just both being Google fans and consumers of their products. Well, my first thought, just to chime in before we talk about Sundar, is that for Larry and Sergey, for 21 years since they founded Google in '98. And at times they both kind of come in and out of prominence in the company, as you mentioned. But for after 21 years, they deserve a break. I think there's time for them to kind of reap the rewards of their hard work. So I wish them well, and it's been a fun ride. I am curious how Sundar is going to operate two companies, kind of, and how one operates as the CEO of both the parent company and one of the subsidiaries, albeit the largest subsidiary. But I'm very curious what this means and what it will mean for the whole Alphabet Google relationship and conglomerate. Matteo, what's your take on it?
This doesn't really come as a surprise to me. We recently had the Google Pixel 4 event. We were all waiting for Sundar to turn up, and he didn't. We didn't see Sundar at the important fall launch of the Google Pixel. So there was definitely something going on. But I think that this is going to be interesting, not only because Sundar is going to be the CEO of both Alphabet and Google, but he's also going to have more direct control over their lobbying spending in Washington.
Yep.
This is Sundar holding responsibility for the whole of Google, not just that parts that are directly product related. So it will be very interesting to see how Google moves forward under Sundar's leadership, especially with regards to the whole holding companies' activities.
I mean, it's hard to argue Sundar's success at Google since he became CEO of Google. Like, you know, say what you will about sunsetting products or whatever Google gripe of the month that we have, Sundar, I think, has been more of a positive than a negative. Flo, I'm guessing you probably disagree with that.
No, I agree. The thing is Pichai is he's a and I mean this in the sense of, so he's a conservative leader, but he's a very focused one. And so he tends to theme his leadership, whereas, and this is actually brought up in a couple of articles that are kind of looking, you know, back on Sergey Brin and Page's time, is there's a lot of showmanship for a while when it came to like Google products. And then those folks kind of shuffled over to Alphabet. And Pichai is not really that showy. He's very much like, this is business. This is what we're doing. And this is the vision. Like, this is the overall thesis of everything that we're doing, the objective, which I appreciated as a person who covers Google and as a person who buys Google products. Because to me, I see the cohesiveness of what the company is putting out. And I think part of the reason Pichai didn't have to be at the event in New York City for the Pixel is because Rick Osterloh is the hardware guy, and he is just basically presenting forth that vision, that objective that Pichai has kind of put into place a couple of years ago when he took over Android. I mean, this makes sense, and I feel like he's worked hard enough, and he's been doing a lot of, I mean, he's been the guy that we've heard from when there's been some messy stuff happening at Google. So also not a surprise that this is kind of like, well, you've had some practice dealing with the employees and with the product. So now let's see what you can do with the investments for Alphabet, because that's no small feat. It gets a little bit bigger when you go that scale.
And also when you think about, to that point, not only the investments, but the what are Alphabet's holdings? You know, if you look at it, you know, Alphabet is a holding company that is responsible for something like 136 billion in revenue per year, right? Like, so it's it's kind of fascinating to see how much that they have that they're going to have under them, you know, in terms of what they can do. So their revenue in 2018 was 136 billion. Their OI, their operating income, was 26 billion. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's over 100,000 employees at Alphabet. So that's just nuts. And so it's kind of what, whether it's Google or Google Ventures or Google Fiber or Waymo or whether Jigsaw or DeepMind or all these investments that they have, it's a lot to kind of cover through. And so it's kind of curious what they're going to do with it. And makes you wonder how much of the change with Nest that happened last year when Nest was folded back into Google will happen with some of these projects. So, lots of questions. I mean, congratulations, Sundar. I mean, we've watched his rise through the ranks of Google from a product role to CEO and now CEO of Alphabet. If he was here, I wonder what he would say.
I wonder what he would say if he were here.
Just to chime in there.
Hang on, Matteo. If Sundar was here, he'd probably say what he tweeted, which was that I'm excited about Alphabet's long-term focus on tackling big challenges through technology. Thanks to Larry and Sergey, we have a timeless mission, enduring values, and a culture of collaboration and exploration. A strong foundation we'll continue to build on. And that was a very well-crafted statement by the now CEO of both Alphabet and Google. So,
Matteo, go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify, Sundar definitely doesn't have a Scottish accent. But
Yes.
one of the things that we've seen since Sundar has been leading Google and previously Android and the Chrome divisions at Google is Google as a business, as well as Alphabet, have grown up. We've gone from product launches with, at the time, Sergey and Larry throwing the Motorola G1 around. It was the not the Motorola, the HTC, the Dream or the G1. They were throwing it at the launch to the super polished, grown-up, clear communication that we had at the Pixel 4 launch. Google has grown up, and I suspect that's in great part thanks to Sundar's leadership.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. So
We're going to have to see how he steers it going forward, too. That's
for sure.
Another challenge.
Well, so that's some big news. But then, like last week we were saying how it was kind of a quiet news period as we're getting ready to ease into the holidays and a lot of the announcements are behind us. But I've seen a lot of bubbling up of malware and vulnerabilities and things like that kind of in the news. And then it finally broke through this week with a couple of things that people should be aware of. Most notably, there's a new malware threat called STRAND HOGG. Notice it's not Strand Goat, but STRAND HOGG. So this was documented by Promon, which is a security firm that also has security apps. So just FYI there. And basically, in a nutshell, this vulnerability that they exposed enables malicious apps to masquerade as trusted apps and then request permissions, to get access, like to your microphone or camera or reading your text messages, and then do nasty things with them. This study by Promon was validated by the folks at Lookout, which is a popular mobile security app and company that we're all aware of. And Lookout reported 26 apps in the Google Play Store, 26 apps that existed that are exploiting this ability. The malicious apps included variants of the BankBot Trojan that's been in the market since 2017 and is a constant threat to the Google Play Store for apps. 36 apps had this exploit, and Lookout confirmed that all 36 of those apps have been removed from the Play Store. So Google is being diligent about identifying apps that have these vulnerabilities and getting them out of the Play Store, but they are getting out there and they do exist. Promon's report says the vulnerability is most dangerous in Android versions 6 through 10, which represents 80% of the user base. And while the vulnerability hasn't been patched yet by Google and Android, Ars Technica reached out for a statement, and Google did provide this response that said, "We appreciate the researchers' work and have suspended the potentially harmful apps they identified. Google Play Protect detects and blocks malicious apps, including ones using this technique. Additionally, we're continuing to investigate in order to improve Google Play Protect's ability to protect users against similar issues." So Google's doing their best. They're playing whack-a-mole to stop it. And if you're watching the video of the show, we've got the Promon's post where they explain exactly how it works and what it can do. And a big question is, so what should you do as a user? If you have an app that you feel you trust and that you use a lot, be wary if it seems weird. And what does that mean? If you know for a fact that you've logged into that service and it asks you to log in again or asks you for a login, that seems weird, maybe stop. If the permission windows don't contain the app name, like when an app says it needs permission to your camera or to your, to read text messages, you should see the app name in that permission window. If you don't, stop. That's a red flag. If the permissions being asked for don't line up with what the app does. So if you if you have the calculator app and it's asking for access to your microphone, that's a little weird. Maybe stop and take a look and see what's going on. Also, because they're taking well-known apps and basically replicating them to earn your trust and a little bit of social engineering, look out for typos or mistakes in the UI of the app. That's a clear giveaway that the nasty folks who are doing this, who are trying to replicate the app, they're rushing and they probably don't know. They're rushing, not Russian, but they might be Russian, but they probably don't know English very well, because I'm guessing that this isn't happening. It's happening more internationally. So look for typos and mistakes, and also look to see if buttons or links in the app don't work, or if the back button acts weirdly. So just be aware of it. If you are downloading if you're reinstalling well-known apps that you are like if you got a new phone and you're going to install your favorite messaging app or something like that, check on the Google Play Store that you're installing the app you previously installed, or on the Google Play Store screen, verify the developer, make sure that it's the company that you think made that app. Just be a little careful. So Matteo, have you run across anything with this little bit of malicious malware in there, or has this come across your desk at all?
No, not at all. So this is something new to me as well. This is not something I was aware of. It may also be because in my personal life, I use very few apps. I have a selection of maybe 20, and I don't tend to install shiny new ones very often.
Dang. How do you get away with
Fair.
that?
That's a good way to do it. That's a good way to make sure you're safe. Flo, what about you?
So as long as you have a good web browser, you can get many, many services without the need of installing a native app.
PWAs are great. Yeah, I have not run across this. Hopefully I have not.
Yeah. I wish there was some sort of like checker to see if you were clear or not, but it doesn't look like there is.
Well, the Play Store is supposed to be kind of doing this in the background. I mean, that's what all the initiatives are supposed to be for, but...
Yep. So best to be wary. But then it doesn't stop there.
No, it doesn't.
Also, whenever a new technology seems to emerge, we have to deal with malware and ways to hack it and things like that. And RCS is no different. So as if the STRAND HOGG malicious stuff wasn't enough, RCS is coming under fire now as mobile carriers' implementations are potentially leading to exposing users to vulnerabilities for using RCS. A company by the name of Security Research Labs reported that the implementation by Vodafone, which is a British and European-based carrier, right, Matteo? I believe Vodafone, right?
Yes, they're based in the UK. They're international, so they're also present in Australia, New Zealand.
My Romanian number is through Vodafone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
they're big in India, South Africa. They're a global company, and obviously they try and have efficiencies across all networks.
Yep. So SR Labs says that Vodafone's implementation, as well as other telcos, potentially exposed millions of users to a vulnerability via RCS. What that vulnerability is, I can't tell you because the SR Labs researchers are scheduled to present their findings at the Black Hat Europe conference this month. So this is a bit of a tease of the fact that something shifty is going on with RCS. And so we're going to monitor this closely because I know we've been talking about the RCS implementation here in the States, and we'll see what this means. But looks like potentially a problem with RCS. So we'll see.
I thought that was an interesting story to put in there just because we have been talking so much about what Google's been trying to do with RCS to kind of like fix the messaging trajectory here in the US. And of course, that was kind of supposed to go global to, become more of an iMessage kind of giant. And then to see that this was happening was just very... this is really frustrating. Like, once again, putting things into the hands of the carriers seems to just, it's not cool.
Well, we'll see what it is. Like once we see what their results are and what this implementation means, doesn't necessarily mean that what Vodafone did with RCS is what T-Mobile's doing with RCS or what Sprint is doing. We got to wait to see more information from SR Labs, but I'm definitely going to stay close to this because I'm curious.
Yeah, they have to basically tell I think it's the GSMA that they're going to go tell about this vulnerability, and there's going to be like a whole roundtable around it, and more legitimate discussion. Also, just a quick follow-up on the STRAND HOGG malware. Apparently, some of the security breach happened through apps that were not through the Play Store. So I think that's...
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, just
or
also a good time to mention...
that were in the Play Store but then got pulled down. I mean, like we didn't get a ton of detail on exactly what the apps were, where they were, but in reading all the background stuff, it was stuff that was outside the Google Play Store or apps that were in the Google Play Store that accessed other apps that triggered it and things like that. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's definitely Google has removed the apps from the Play Store that were identified in the report.
So fun. So much fun. Should we move on to something actually like fun?
A little bit of an announcement, maybe.
Yeah. So this announcement is happening in Hawaii, specifically specifically in Maui, where Qualcomm is hosting its annual summit. It's kind of become a tradition where they announce what processors are coming into our mobile devices in the following year, and they do it in paradise, because where else would you do it but in paradise? I mean, processors, paradise, they both start with the letter P. Okay, so they've announced the Snapdragon 865 and the lower end, I suppose, well, maybe not mid-range, the lower end 765. So both systems will have a focus on 5G and AI, both like really big buzzwords. If you've been paying attention to mobile news, you know the ladder of AI is going to become a big part of the mobile ecosystem. I mean, it already is if you're an Android user. And the former, 5G, is going to be a big part of just driving smartphone sales, as we have seen with this year, 2019, and our 5G version is coming out. Be the first to get 5G. Well, 2020 is going to be everything has 5G now. Your carrier probably doesn't, but at least you have it when the cell towers go up, kind of thing. The mid-range 765 will feature an integrated 5G option, unlike the higher-end 865, which will utilize the separate X55 5G modem. So likely kind of a sign to show that those lower-end phones kind of coincide with how 5G has a slower rollout than we are expecting. But of course, the flagships are going to have the 5G embedded right there on the marquee, because it's just such a nice marketing slogan, right? So a couple of brands have announced that they are going to come through with these processors. So via 9 to 5, Google, Xiaomi, Oppo, and Lenovo/Motorola are all confirming the development of flagship smartphones that will pack the Snapdragon 865, while HMD Global, who we know is the brains behind the Nokia brand now, says it has plans for the Snapdragon 765 powered devices, which, makes sense. It tracks. Xiaomi, of course, was the most specific, officially announcing the existence of the Mi 10. Of course, the Mi 10 was kind of already sort of soft announced earlier this year, so we knew it was coming. But officially, this is announcing that the Mi 10 is going to have the new Snapdragon architecture in it. The company also says it will be one of the world's first smartphones to feature that processor. So bragging rights are due here. Also, one last little thing announced at this Qualcomm Snapdragon Summit in paradise of processors. Alliteration. Sonic Max. It's a new fingerprint scanning technology. So kind of the hook here, it's a larger surface area for your fingers. For an in-screen scanner, it's up to 17 times larger. So hopefully it'll help fix some of the, more finicky fingerprint scanning methodologies that we've seen adopted in 2019. So I don't know, guys. 2020 just sounds like a lot more 5G to me. I mean, that's really what.
Well, Matteo, I would love to hear what you think of these announcements.
Mr. Phone Procurer.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, this is a looking forward to 2020 and beyond for Qualcomm. It's natural that they'll want to announce their chipsets and their partnerships and get everyone excited about what's coming. I think the problem here that Qualcomm has, and maybe lots of the handset manufacturers, is that the networks themselves are still way behind in rolling out 5G. Yep. And I think that's a telltale thing that you see in the release of the Snapdragon 865. It doesn't have the 5G radio built into the system on a chip. It's parallel. It's something that can be added on. So the vast majority of 4G smartphones will still be able to have the Snapdragon 865 system on a chip, but they don't have to have 5G because most people won't be using it. And I'm imagining most flagship Android device makers won't be using the 5G add-on radio either, because the networks globally are just not ready for it. Obviously, at the moment, I'm traveling. I'm in Shenzhen, which is the mobile capital of the world. This is a city blanketed with 5G. This is the home to Huawei and many other smartphone and network infrastructure manufacturers. So 5G is normal here, and you would expect to buy a 5G device in Shenzhen. But even a city like Singapore isn't there yet. And so I think 2020 is going to be a year when we're going to see lots of smartphone makers and networks make some mistakes, gain some learnings to be able to move forward to 5G properly, maybe in a few years' time. But it's still early adopters day, and I'm not sure for the average consumer globally, there's much of a value in 5G. But Qualcomm are doing the right thing. They haven't built that 5G radio into the chipset. We'll see how that plays out for them, because in the meantime, we have Huawei and MediaTek who have their system on a chip with integrated 5G radios. So only time will tell, but it's an interesting move from Qualcomm to not include that on their chip.
Yeah, that struck me as curious too, because 5G is inevitable, right? I mean, and I feel like we go through this every time. Like on the verge of 4G, there was a lot of criticism or skepticism and about the rollout and all this stuff. And then one day, like 4G was just enabled and everyone had it, and it was LTE and blah blah blah, and everything's great, right? But so I wonder if Qualcomm is hedging their bets to a certain degree here by supporting 5G, but not fully committing to it.
Well, in a way, I agree. It's probably because ultimately Qualcomm's customers aren't the average consumer. They're the smartphone makers. And the smartphone makers need to make devices for people who are actually using them day to day. And most people don't need 5G at the moment. And there's no clear understanding of which types of 5G will be prevalent and in which conditions. So you'll have a different type of 5G at a ballpark or a stadium compared to walking down the street in a city center. So it's still early days.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of folks in the chat room right now that are watching live are talking about it, how there's multiple flavors of 5G, and this gets really kind of, maddening when so many people want to race to a moniker of 5G, but it's their 5G, and it really, it mirrors what's going on with messaging and what's going on with OSs and all this sort of stuff. Is this idea of not proprietary, but like the move away from common standards across all users. Which
we're back to using the F word, fragmentation.
Yep. Yeah. We're real close to it. Oh, that's rough.
That word has been coming through a lot, by the way, the last couple of weeks.
It has. I'd like to fragment the screen next to me. All right, let's take a break and thank our first sponsor, which is a sponsor near and dear to my heart. This episode is brought to you by Plex. And listen, Plex brings together all the media that matters to you in a single app. And it's available on any device, no matter where you are. It's really, truly the freedom of media with Plex. You can organize and stream for free your personal collection of movies, TV shows, music, your favorite podcasts, web series, news, and more. And listen, if you're like me, you love your media, you love absorbing movies and TV shows and podcasts. So give your media the royal treatment it deserves with Plex Pass. With premium features, you can bring out the best in whatever media you have. And here's just a rundown of some of the great things you can do with Plex Pass. If you got a Plex Pass and an antenna and a tuner, you can stop paying for cable, cut that cord, and enjoy great TV and even record free HD broadcast channels right to your library. It's amazing. This next feature is my favorite, what I use all the time, and it's offline accessibility with mobile sync. You can sync your movies, shows, music, and photos to your mobile devices for offline enjoyment wherever you go. So if you're like me and you're flying cross country every couple of weeks and you want to watch stuff on the plane but you don't want to be connected, or if you're going to the gym and they don't have a good Wi-Fi connection or whatever, using that mobile sync for offline accessibility is a must-have. Premium music features like lyrics and custom curated playlists based on your music preferences. If you're a big photographer, you can get premium photos and create beautiful photo albums so you can easily customize and share your favorite memories. And you can get a cinema-like experience when you're watching your personal movie collection, including trailers, cast interviews, behind-the-scene features, and more. And maybe you're not the only person in your house that wants to use Plex. With Plex Pass, you can support multiple users and make it so much easier to switch users with Plex Home. You can create customized managed accounts and make switching users easy with Plex Home. They even have parental control so you can safely let your little ones enjoy as well. And with Plex Pass, you get my favorite thing. You get the Plex Pass perks, where you get exclusive access to promos and discounts on partner products that you get to use the newest features before everyone else. There are even more features such as loudness leveling, sweet fades, timeline view, and advanced audio features. So are you ready for your Plex Pass? And I got to tell you, you should be ready for it because it's amazing. I've been a lifetime Plex Pass subscriber since the day they rolled it out. I've been using Plex since day one. It's where all my media is stored. I use it for all my home media stuff. I have my Plex media server set up on my desktop. I use it with my NVIDIA Shield TV. The Plex Android TV app is amazing. The app is on my phone. It's on my tablet. Wherever I go, my media comes with me thanks to Plex. So join me. And get this great offer for Twit listeners to $10 off the lifetime Plex Pass subscription for new subscribers only. And you get that by going to plex.tv/twit and enter code TWIT10. That's plex.tv/twit and enter code TWIT10. And thanks, Plex, for supporting my media and being awesome and for giving us a great $10 off lifetime Plex Pass for our listeners. Thanks, Plex. Fun times. All right, now Matteo shows up on the show. We got to do some hardware. So let's do it.
So much goat love
Thank you, Victor.
on the show when Mateo's on. But we're starting with me first. Sorry, Matteo. I'm taking the spotlight right now. Because I brought something for a little show and tell today. So really quickly, I'm going to hold it up here on screen so you can see the 7-inch Lenovo Smart Display. This is brand new, just launched early last month, which was November. And we're going to do a quick little walkthrough, just kind of tell you a little bit about it. So, Victor, if you wouldn't mind the overhead so that we can make this all about the device at hand. Here we go. I have some music queued up in just a second, so we can do that for you. But first, I'm going to give you a little walkthrough. So, here is Lenovo Smart Display. This is a 7-inch one. It is much smaller than the 8 and 10-inch ones that were announced / launched last year. This one does not flip over this way the way the last two did. It only works this way. And it's about the size of the Nest Hub, if you're familiar with it. Same screen size, around 7 inches. IPS display. But the thing about this is that it has a camera right here. Thankfully, there is a little slider if you don't want, the camera to be on, because I can understand why. Now, this is not the kind of thing that you're going to put at your bedside because of that camera thing, is what I say. If you want something that goes by your bedside, you want to get the Lenovo Smart Clock. That's the thing that goes by your bedside. This one, right now, this is hanging out in my office, and it's become my Periphery 90210 streaming device. So when I do my 5th rewatch of season 5, I'm doing it on this thing. And it's great because the sound, there's two 1.5-inch 5-watt speakers and a passive radiator, which are pointed directly at you here at the bottom. So the sound is pointed at you, so I can hear all the dialogue perfectly of the 70th time that Kelly chooses herself. So I'm just
nice.
Thank you, Ron, for getting that. I'm just gonna go ahead and put on a little lo-fi hip hop, and let me cast it over. So we're casting it through Spotify right now. It's a loading. Now this thing is bassy. This thing is really bassy, and I like it. It sounds really nice. I have it actually paired as a home group in my office with the new 2nd-gen Nest Mini. And the Nest Mini, as you may know, when you put it up against the wall, it kind of uses the wall to reverberate bass. And it sounds great in conjunction with this. I kind of love this little stereo pairing that I put in the room. And then, okay, Burke is telling me to turn it all the way up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that.
It's all about that bass.
All right, let's see if you can feel this on the table, huh? Can you feel that, folks? Maybe? No? I don't know. Yeah. It's bassy. It's shaking. Oh, okay. Burke wants me to hold it up to the mic. Okay, let me do that for you. It's lo-fi hip hop, all right? I'm not gonna put something to get us in trouble with rights. So the nice thing about this, it has really nice viewing angles, as you can see, like from either side. You're getting crisp, clear vision. The camera resolution on this thing, it's 2 megapixels instead of 5, like on the other Lenovo Smart Displays. There is also a hardware mute button on the top, excuse me. Kind of like in the other Smart Displays. Yep, I know. It also has... Okay, I heard ya. It also has Bluetooth 5.0 rather than 4.2, like on the older displays. And it does have the ability to adjust automatically. But I'm not using it that way because I'm using it... It has a color sensor, so it kind of like... It knows how to adjust the picture based on the lighting in your room. But I haven't been using that just because, it's just been sitting in my office. But... It is, it's a nice little, if you're thinking about getting a smart display, you don't want to get the Nest Hub necessarily. It's MSRP $130, but exclusively you can get it for $100 at B&H if you order it through B&H. They're giving you 30% off for the holiday. So if you're interested in maybe you want to check this out instead of the Nest Hub, maybe you do want a camera and you want to stick with the 7-inch size, something worth considering. Lenovo, they've done a really good job with the smart displays. I'm still using the 10-inch in the kitchen. It's still our kitchen display. We clean it off with a little bit of the Method purple stuff, is what I call it, because, it can get greasy in the kitchen. This one, I think, is better in the bedroom if you're thinking of getting it.
I'm gonna avoid that, and I'm gonna ask you the question I was gonna ask, which you kind of answered. But it seems like this would be a great alarm clock device.
No, I really like the Lenovo Smart Clock for that.
Yeah.
Because I don't want something super complicated. I actually have the Nest Hub in my bedroom because it doesn't have the camera, so I'm not as weirded out, and that's my little when I'm playing podcasts or watching something while doing my makeup. This one. I think it's a good idea if you maybe have a smaller family room and you don't want to have such a big display because you have a TV, that kind of thing. It's a good smart home controller. And then just very quickly, actually, Victor, if you don't mind the overhead, just very quickly, I'm just going to show you. Remember that these are kind of this is the new way to do everything. So, it's kind of bright, so you can't really see it that well.
Which I got to admit, ultimately, this is less about the device and more about the Google Home interface.
Yeah.
I am liking the new interface since the rollout, but I will say the swipe up menu that you do to get volume and everything, when you have player, if you're watching video and you have player controls and getting that to swipe up on top of player controls gets very frustrating and confusing.
Yeah. So there you go. Lenovo Smart Display, $100 at B&H, $130 if you find it anywhere else.
Cool.
I would also add an extra warning. If you have a cat, you don't want to have that on a bedside table above your head because no doubt during the night they're going to knock that down on your head.
Oh, your cats are mean. See, I had a bush.
At least the little one
Rest in peace. My cat was a bush dweller, so she never got up on anything, thankfully. She was always under things. But anyway, Matteo, you have a lot of stuff to show us.
Everyone should get comfortable, ignore any wildlife in the proximity, and Matteo's going to walk us through a hardware wonderland.
Yes, thank you. So,
here it comes.
I have a dedicated check too.
Here's the thing. Before we get into the hardware, I just want to point out to Victor and to Matteo and to Burke and everybody involved in the goat prank that later in the show, Matteo's going to have a massive revelation, which is going to shock everything you think about the whole goat joke. I'll just leave that teaser at that. So, Matteo, hardware, go for it.
Thank you. Okay, then. Let's start off with Doogee. Doogee is a smartphone maker here in China who make rugged smartphones and smartphones with insanely large batteries. And the Tech Travel Geek, so myself and our Chief Aperture Officer, Lukash, were lucky enough to be invited to their HQ here in Shenzhen and to have some introductions to their product lineup. Not only that, we got to unbox the products and also take some away. So let's start with the Doogee S95. This is their flagship modular smartphone. This is a rugged smartphone with a big-ass battery, It's IP68 rated. It supports NFC wireless charging. It has a MediaTek Helio chipset. And it's very similar. It's an evolution of the product we reviewed last year, the Doogee S50. If you remember that, we put it through some pretty punishing drop tests and washed it under taps after we dropped it on the ground. This is the continuation of it. It has a bigger, better screen. It has more storage, more RAM. So the model we were playing around with has 8 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage, which are expandable with a micro SD. It does fast charging using USB Type-C, but it also does wireless charging, so you never need to take the cap off the bottom of the device for the charger. And so we got to unbox the device, but not only the device, there's also an option to buy the bundle with 2 add-on modules. So they're clip-on modules similar to the Moto mods we've seen on Motorola devices in the past. And those mods are extra 3,500 milliamp hour battery, which complements the 5,800 milliamp hour battery in the device itself, and a really good speaker with stand. So you can turn your smartphone essentially into a small boom box. So this is really goods. Obviously, the Doogee is targeted at people who are going to be spending a lot of time outdoors or maybe on construction sites. So that boombox may be really useful in that context. And the boombox itself has its own power supply, its own battery, which charges via USB Type-C. The same with the separate power bank. You can charge that with Type-C independently of the smartphone. And we were really impressed by this. This is a small company, a startup in Shenzhen, who are doing really good smartphones. And they're not making them for China. These are aimed at international markets. So the Doogee S95, as the S88, S68, and N900 come with full Google Play services. They are certified Google devices. And we were really impressed by the S95. We then also got to see their mid-range rugged phone, which has an even bigger battery. It has a 6,000 milliamp hour battery and another MediaTek Helio chipset. This, again, has 6 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage, which is expandable with micro SD. And this is a new rating that I had never seen on a smartphone before. So it's IP69K rated. That means that IP69K rated is not only can it have ingress protection from dust and particulate matter and water, but pressurized steam and pressurized hot water. So this is a step up from your IP68 rating. And that's available in a $250 to $300 smartphone, which is slightly smaller screens, but with decent bezels. And I've personally found it very pleasant to be typing on it. That bezel lets you hold your thumbs a bit higher up on the devices rather than holding them further down. So we have a review unit of this device. The Tech Travel Geeks will be working on a full review of the Doogee S68 Pro as well as the S95 Pro. They're going to be dropping a review unit of that off later on today. But initial impressions are very, very positive. I'm going to have fun going through airports and dropping it in sinks, and maybe it's Singapore airport, dropping it in the koi pond and seeing what happens. But I'm sure it will survive quite well. And so that's the 2 rugged smartphones they showed us. And the other one is one that, Ron, I think you've expressed appreciation for big battery smartphones.
Oh,
so
yeah.
The Doogee S95 Pro, that's 5,800 milliamp hour. That's decent. The Doogee S68 Pro is 6,000 milliamp hour. The Doogee N100 isn't a rugged smartphone. I'm not sure if a smartphone is a good word for it. It's a power bank, a 10,000 milliamp hour power bank with a smartphone on it.
That's fantastic.
And it's surprisingly light. I compared it side by side with a 10,000 milliamp hour power bank, and the weight is very, very similar. Again, dual cameras, decent selfie camera, 10,000 milliamp hour battery, and it supports wireless charging, as do the other two. So Doogee have really taken feedback on board regarding their hardware. Previously, they didn't have NFC. There was some trade-offs, missing stuff. Now they've got the full package. They're not the prettiest of smartphones compared to other Chinese devices, but really, really compelling products that solve real problems. People want a phone with a battery that will last 3 to 4 days. Here it is, the Doogee N100. So it was very, very good to see these slightly offsides products that solve real problems, and a company's committing to making those. So from a product standpoint, really, really interesting, and also good to hear that they're going to be working on better software updates going forward. But that's the Doogee lineup that we got to play with here in Shenzhen. I really enjoyed that, and we're going to have some fun driving cars over the devices to see if they break, because they can take quite a pounding, apparently.
Well, it's interesting because, like, all joking aside, and we can we do love to joke about oddly designed bezels and rugged phones. I know I teased Jason for years. Ever since year one of All About Android, I tried to get Jason to buy a rugged Android phone as his next phone. I think it was a Casio that was like all rubberized and all that sort of stuff. But the people behind Doogee aren't going to invest capital in a hardware company if they don't think there's a market for it. And clearly there's a market for it. I would love to know who that market is, though. Like, I want to know who the person that looks at these phones is like, yes, that's what I need for my lifestyle, because I find their life would be fascinating. So
people who aren't maybe necessarily in, maybe they live in a small house and there's only like 1 or 2 outlets to share between family members, like definitely people outside of extremely populated metro areas. Matteo, there was a question in the chat that asked, does the last Doogee you showed, does that do reverse charging? And does it do reverse wireless charging?
So the Doogee S95 Plus does reverse wireless charging, and it does reverse charging. The N100, the 10,000 milliamp hour battery one, does reverse charging over Type-C as well. I haven't
It really
played
is
with
a
it
battery
in depth
pack.
It is. It's a power bank as well as a phone. And I think that just lives up to the sharing is caring saying. I think one of the cool things is, Ron, you were saying you'd like to know who the person for this is. As someone who travels a lot, and for tech travel geeks, the 10,000 milliamp hour battery phone is ideal, because you're not only going to be playing media, you want to make sure you have battery life with your boarding card on the device. The last thing you want to do is be turning up at an airport gate with a dead phone and no boarding pass.
Oh, I've been at the airport watching my battery dwindle away and going, I probably should stop doing stuff if I want to, until I get on the plane and I'm able to plug in. So I can relate to that. I mean, don't get me wrong, battery life I get, and Bleak in the chat room shared a good example of somebody who, uses their phone for payments via Square or other payment things. And if your phone dies, you can't accept payments. And I actually will build upon that concept, and that I know I have a lot of friends in music and in touring bands and roadies and stuff like that who run the merch table selling T-shirts and things like that. And they're there using Square or PayPal or whatever kind of e-commerce thing through the phone. And not only do they need the battery to stay alive, but when you're on tour, ruggedness is great, because things get knocked around, you drop things, you're in bars and all that sort of stuff. So there's definitely lifestyles that could lend themselves to the big battery life and the rugged kind of bezel kind of situation. So that's fascinating. I would love if anyone in the audience has a Doogee or is getting one of these Doogees, write in, because we'd love to hear about what your experiences is with them. So email us at aa@twit.tv.
And also check out the Tech Travel Geeks YouTube channel in the coming weeks. We will be having some full hands-on and drop tests and stress tests.
That's awesome.
Lucas has already committed to driving his Tesla over the devices.
Matteo,
Which model?
Oh.
It's a Model 3 Performance that he reviewed on our YouTube channel. It's a lovely, lovely car.
I will give you bonus points, Matteo, if you do a video of a goat walking over one of these
with the hoof.
with a banana to scale.
Good. Okay, that's the challenge for the next time I'm in Petaluma.
Yep.
Here you have lots of goats there.
There you go.
Yep. Matteo, you have a couple more things to show us. You want to just quickly run them down?
Sure. Okay, let's focus on the big one that was announced last week just before All About Androids, and you discussed on the show. The Honor V30 Pro and the Honor Magic Watch 2. So Honor very kindly invited us over to their office here in Shenzhen to have a play around with the Honor V30. So the Honor V30 is their new flagship. It shares a lot of its key product features with the Huawei Mate 30 Pro, so the Huawei flagship lineup. And what it is essentially a device with a large touchscreen with a punch hole dual camera, selfie camera notch. So it has two selfie cameras, one standard one and a wide angle one, similar to what we saw in the Google Pixel 3 XL. And on the back, it has a triple camera setup with our RYYB sensor. That's the same type of sensor we saw in the Huawei P30 Pro and the Huawei Mate 30 Pro. So really good cameras, good zoom capability using Huawei's software on Honor's operating system, Magic OS 3, which is based on Android 10, so the latest version of Android. Really powerful chipset, non-expandable 256 gigabytes or 512 gigabytes of storage, Type-C for charging, no headphone jack, and key for people who travel and stay in hotels or places where they want to use infrared, it has an infrared blaster in the top. The battery is a 4,100 milliamp hour battery, so really decent, with the super efficient chipset that will deliver good performance. And overall, it feels slightly chunky. That's because the V30 Pro here in China is a 5G device for the Chinese market. This is unlikely to work in the US or Europe if you were to purchase one online. The issue is that this device is currently for China only. Honor are showing off in their home ground. They're showing off in the Chinese market. This is an amazing product. It's just really a shame there's no current news on when it will be coming to other markets and if it will have Google Play services. Obviously, the Chinese version definitely does not have Google Play services, but all the equivalent Chinese services such as AMAPS and the App Gallery, they all work. So it's really interesting to play around with this device, get a feel for it. It's a lovely device. My issue is that it won't be available outside of China. Now, we also got to play around with the Honor Magic Watch 2, which is Honor's new smartphone lineup with both a 46-inch model. That would be a very big one. It was a 46-millimeter model and a 42-millimeter model. They're very, very similar to the Huawei watch, but there are a lot of sort of detailing in the straps, in the body of the watch, and the buttons that make it stand out a bit more. They're definitely aiming this device at a younger audience with a bit more color detailing and a bit more garish colors. I particularly like the smaller 42-millimeter one because it's much lighter. It's a more practical watch in my personal view. And overall, great product running on Huawei's own A1 chipset with Light OS running the show. So very, very similar to the Huawei Watch GT2, which I brought to the studio last time I was there, and Twitch did a hands-on tech video of. So great product lineup from Honor for late 2019. I really hope these do come to Western markets going forward. So thanks to Honor for having us at their office here and giving us some hands-on time with these devices. But let's hope they do come to international markets soon.
Those look pretty. but they're kind of big for Flo's wrists.
But I would say overall, the experience on both the watches and the smartphone, very fluid software, very fast and responsive devices.
Matteo, you always pointed out the battery life on these things are awesome. That's what I recall. The Huawei and Honor watches.
I'm currently using the Huawei Watch GT2.
Yeah, that's what you were wearing last time you were in the studio.
Exactly. So I charged this before leaving Edinburgh a week and a half ago.
Still haven't plugged it in?
Still haven't plugged it in. With Bluetooth on and no notifications on. I'm still at 61% battery.
It's that chipset.
Dang.
They're not using a Qualcomm chipset. They're using the Huawei A1 chipset, which is made for the operating system and the hardware.
Yeah.
It's not a repurposed phone chip, as other brands are.
Mm-hmm.
There it is.
You have one more little bit of show and tell to tell.
Sure. So at the moment, I'm reviewing the Honor 9X, which is a device which is available in UK and Europe and globally, and the Oppo Reno 2. I'm taking them on this trip and putting them through a bit of a test in terms of durability of battery, so their battery longevity,
that's right.
and the cameras.
Fin camera, sorry. I just remembered the Reno 2.
Yeah, the shark fin camera on the Oppo Reno 2 just makes me giggle. It's really funny, and it works well. You have a full screen display, no notches, no hole punches, but you also get a decent selfie camera. And the cameras on the back, the quad camera setup on the Oppo Reno 2 is really impressive. Victor, I put some sample galleries underneath each device. So underneath the Oppo Reno, I have a nighttime photography and just general photography album we can quickly scroll through, which I took a series of pictures in Singapore. Singapore is a city made for nighttime photography, and usually smartphone cameras do struggle with that sort of situation. The Oppo Reno 2 really did well in really challenging situations. So this is the Marina Bay Sands. Exactly. So they have a different way of doing it. They take a burst of photos very quickly at the beginning and then do processing after. Whereas Huawei and Google phones take a little longer to do it. Oppo have a different way of implementing it. And as you can see, in really challenging lighting conditions, where some things would blow out the background, the Oppo Reno 2 performs really well for a smartphone without having a big lens. I'm sure Ant Pruitt would have something to say about the physics and how cameras work. But I have to say, as a user using a smartphone, I'm blown away by what you can do with an Oppo Reno 2, which is not a full flagship device. It sits underneath the price category of, say, the OnePlus 7T or the flagship Pixels and Huawei and Samsung devices. So you get a lot of good value for money from the Oppo Reno 2 when it comes to both battery life and camera performance. And then obviously we also have another Chinese phone. There's Kevin and Austin, my colleagues in Singapore, who are very kindly looking after us whilst we were there. Shout out to Kevin and Austin. And then we had another device, the Honor 9X, another Chinese smartphone, which has a really interesting texture behind the glass, an X effect. But again, this is a step down in terms of price range. It has a pop-up selfie camera, 16 megapixel selfie camera, a decent 4,000 milliamp hour battery. The screen is LCD rather than AMOLED, so you're not getting those inky blacks. But overall, for the price, which is around about $200 to $300, depending on the model and where you buy it, you're getting a lot of value. Obviously, there has to be a slight trade-off in terms of how that camera works. In good lighting conditions, it works great. It's perfect for those travel pictures of your meals in food centers in Singapore, as Victor's showing off here. but it does tend to struggle a little bit more in low light conditions or where there's a strong light in the background or foreground. But overall, I would say it does very well. And the night mode is using Magic OS or Huawei's night mode, which is impressive. It does really well for a mid-range smartphone.
Adventures in China.
The full review of the Honor 9X and the Oppo Reno 2 will be on the Tech Travel Geeks YouTube channels in the coming weeks.
Cool.
Wow. Thank you, Matteo, so much for walking us through that. Through phones we will never see in the United States, but it's good to know what is happening overseas. And my gosh, Singapore looks like the perfect place to test out in night mode on a phone.
Yes, it's a city made for nighttime photography and causing my obesity.
Yeah.
That's a great combination right there. That's a selling point.
Ron, what do you think about taking us into an ad?
Sure. We got one last sponsor to thank, and it's the fine folks at ExpressVPN. And listen, we all know, we've talked a lot about this on the show, how VPN can protect your privacy and security online. We already know that. But this is something you might not know. Did you know that you can also take your TV watching to the next level by unlocking movies and shows that are only available in other countries? It's true. And this is some real pro tip, like master use of VPN tools here. But if you have ExpressVPN, you can use it to binge on Doctor Who or Star Trek on the UK version of Netflix. And it's simple. Just fire up the ExpressVPN app, change your location to the UK, refresh Netflix, and that's it. ExpressVPN hides your IP address and lets you control where you want sites to think you're located. You can choose from almost 100 different countries. So just think about all the Netflix libraries you can go through. And listen, maybe Doctor Who's not your thing. Maybe you're into anime. You can use ExpressVPN to access Japanese Netflix and be spirited away. Oh, that's wonderful. But it's not just Netflix. ExpressVPN works with any streaming service, whether it's Hulu, BBC iPlayer, YouTube, you name it. There are hundreds of VPNs out there, but the reason why we love ExpressVPN or to watch shows is that it's ridiculously fast. There's never been any buffering or lag, and you can stream in HD no problem. ExpressVPN is also compatible with all your devices, phones, media consoles, smart TVs, and more, so you can watch what you want on the go or on the big screen wherever you are. And in fact, Matteo can provide a testimonial right now. You are an ExpressVPN user, are you not, Matteo?
I am indeed. So I signed up on the All About Android link to ExpressVPN in view of this trip to Asia, and it has worked. It's a really good way to keep safe when you're connecting to airport or cafe Wi-Fi, when you're uploading your stuff, or even just downloading maps. It's a really good way to not only do that, but also keep your information safe, but being able to access the internet if you're in a place like China, it really enables that and allows you to do things that sometimes could be a blocker whilst you're traveling.
Yep. And in fact, you're using it this very minute, aren't you?
I am, yes.
That's amazing. See, ExpressVPN in the wild, happening now live from China. And you could join Matteo and the other great happy ExpressVPN users by visiting expressvpn.com/allaboutandroid, where you can get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. So support All About Android, watch what you want, and protect yourself at the same time at expressvpn.com/allaboutandroid. Thanks, ExpressVPN, for letting me watch more Doctor Who and for protecting me at the same time. So excellent. All right, we got some quick apps, app news to go through. Some checking in with Google apps. So let's do that, Victor. Apps. So everyone loves to gripe about Google. I'm saying Google gripes. I really like that. But everybody likes to gripe about messaging and the messaging platforms. And so I saw a lot of snark online today about, Google's rolling out another messaging platform. But I really think that's not fair, and it's a little overhyped because Google rolled out private messaging in Google Photos. And while it might sound like another messaging app or another approach to messaging by Google, all this is just parody, feature parody with Instagram. Google Photos has previously let you share albums and share photos with other users, and to be honest, not the greatest interface, not the smoothest way to share photos. By providing basically private messaging or direct messaging within the app, you can take a photo and send it to your friend. I think this is a fine addition to Google Photos, an app that I think is reigns supreme as one of the top Google apps out there. So I think this is a welcome addition. I might be alone in my assertion of that, but I think it's a good add to it.
I agree. It was really finicky to like share a photo, have it become an album on its own, and then to create a shared album with all of the photos, including that one photo. It got really confusing.
Yeah. It was clunky.
It was, but you know what? Testament to Google Photos, because my friends and family still using it, even though it was all that UI. So yeah, you're right, Ron. This is really just this is
feature parity.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm surprised it took this long, to be honest. Yeah.
This is really good, and it's good to see Google Wave still with it living on to this day in these little project features.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I
love Google Wave.
Yeah. Well, moving on to another little googly piece of news. So if you have been in a Play Store recently on your phone or on in the web browser, you may have noticed that it's the end of the year, so Google has made its picks for Play Store picks. The best of 2019. It's kind of like the year-end list that you put together. If this were VH1, we'd probably have a bunch of celebrity pundits making jokes about it. Instead, you have me, Ron, and Matteo. So first, let's kind of walk you through to what some of the trends were in the Play Store this year of 2019. So users' choice for app is Video Editor, Glitch Video Effects. Not an app that I have been looking at using. I can't remember if it was in the arena, but I have a feeling this is something that YouTube folks who make videos on the go like to use, kind of thing. User choice for game was Call of Duty Mobile. Kind of no surprise there. Movie was Marvel Studios' Avengers Endgame, which makes sense. It was that was a big kahuna of a movie this year. Ebook, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I'm sure because of the movie that came out around Halloween, which I heard was absolutely not as good as reading the original paperback book in your garage with all the lights turned off in a circle of friends. That's how we did it, folks, when I was a kid. That's the only way to read Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I have the paperback as well. I've bought an old copy to make sure that I have it around when I need it to scare children. Yes. Scary. Mobile Magic Best App of 2019 is an app called Ablo, which allows you to talk to new people and explore the world. I have never heard of this app, but apparently it's got 1 million downloads and 4.3 stars in the Play Store.
I love that there's a whole corner of Android users that we just are not in touch with.
It's because of our US.
Yeah, true. It's not a corner. It's the rest of the world.
Yeah. Best game we already said was Call of Duty Mobile. So I think who was on? Was it Josh Vergara was on and he was playing it? I think he had brought in that kind of video game looking phone with like the Switch looking paddle controllers on the side, and he was playing Call of Duty, and I was like, oh my God, Call of Duty is on a phone. Like, where are we in society? But yes, Call of Duty on a phone. That's where we are now. Screen Stars is another little section that Google called top selling movies of 2019 on the Play Store. Marvel Studios' Avengers Endgame, Aquaman, which I can't tell if y'all were watching that ironically or because it was good, because I heard it was bad. A Star is Born, the one with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga. Marvel Studios is Captain Marvel, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Wow. That is a lot of Disney on one list.
I'm going to endorse that list.
Top selling TV shows of 2019. Game of Thrones is number one, I'm sure, because people wanted to see how disappointing the last season was. The Walking Dead, which is still going strong on cable TV and apparently in digital downloads. The Big Bang Theory, which I believe ended this year. Riverdale, which I am not caught up on, but definitely is still keeping its writing chops. And Yellowstone, which Actually, folks, Kevin Costner's in this one. He's a patriarch in Montana. I actually haven't heard of this. It's a drama. So anybody who's watching that, apparently it's a top-selling show in the Play Store. Top-selling ebooks is The Mister by E.L. James, the same author behind the 50 Shades of Grey franchise. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark by Alvin Schwartz. Again, the paperback book, I think, has the absolute effect. Tiamat's Wrath by James S.A. Corey. The Silent Patient.
Ooh, Tiamat's Wrath is from The Expanse.
Oh, it is?
Very good. Yeah, it's the Expanse book.
Oh, it's the 8th book in the Expanse series. Yep. Okay, good for you.
Yep.
Good for you, people, for sticking up on that. I
love that book.
I'm not on the book trajectory, but my husband is. The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. And The Institute by Stephen King. Always got to put a Stephen King one on there. And audiobooks include Becoming by Michelle Obama, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Hoot.
A Fragment?
By Mark Manson. Unfragment Yourself. Get Out of Your Head and Into Your Life by Gary John Bishop. I'm not saying the actual word that it is. Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire, Book 1, and Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. So, wow. A lot of returns on there. I like when Google does these year of the end. It's interesting to see like what people are buying digitally, and it just goes to show you that even though some of us may have physical copies of these things, we're still buying them digitally just for the convenience, probably.
Yeah, so. And it's also interesting to see that maybe the subset of people who are buying content on Google Play differ significantly from, say, the people buying content on Amazon or from any other provider.
Yeah, I mean, there's no U2 on this list, so clearly this wasn't an Apple list.
Well, that was interesting. 2019 was a fun year, but we've got some more breaking news as we end this set.
I say I want, you say pie. I want pie. I want pie.
So earlier in the show, we were talking about 5G and the conference going on in Hawaii right now. Well, just a few minutes ago, Ina Fried, the chief technology correspondent from Axios, posted something pertinent to that from that event. This is how T-Mobile decided to communicate how they're going to use 5G by making a cake.
It's worth noting Hawaii is 3 hours behind California. Right now it's 6:40 show times, which is about 3:40 over there. So it's
here you
middle
can see
of the,
you can see the first layer of the cake is the low band nationwide 5G. Then the middle layer of the cake is mid-band metro. And then the thin but tall section is dense urban.
Okay, but which layer is princess cake, which layer is buttercream, and which layer is double chocolate? That's what I want to know.
I want to hope this is a joke.
May I just make a point? May I just make a point? The cake is a lie.
Is it?
I think that's a real cake. That looks like a lot of fondant to me. That looks like something that is sold by the cake boss, to teach children about 5G in schools.
I'm looking forward to the T-Mobile commercials explaining it this way.
Oh, God.
Anyway.
I think I can see the Hawaiian condensation on the fondant as well.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, that's how you know it's accurate. So anyway, breaking news there for you on the 5G.
That was fun.
Course. Yes. So that said, let's go into the arena. Maybe.
So many enter, but only one lives. Android Arena.
Okay. Ron, you want to lead us into the scoreboard, please?
Sure. So last week in episode 448, it was me and Flo, and who was on the show?
Win,
right? Yes. So
yes.
So Flo was the winner last week with PC to mobile transfer.
Interesting.
Which got 70 votes, 53% of the voting. And wins guest app of Tiny Room Stories Town Mystery. And Victor, the link to the screenshot of the results is there at the top of the doc in case you want to show that to everyone watching on the video. So you can actually see I'm not making up these numbers as I continue to vamp to get my dumb face. There we go. So Flo came in first at 53% of the vote. Tiny Room Stories Town Mystery, the guests app, got 36% of the vote. And I thought Zone Launcher would do better, but that came in last. I'm back in the cellar with 10% of the vote. So Flo is our winner. And with that, through 48 weeks of the show. Flo is still in first place with 154 points. Guests today, represented by Matteo, have 123 points. I continue my climb to catch up to Flo before the end of the year, despite it being mathematically impossible, but I will not be limited by math. I have 105 points. And Jason, who chose vacation over the arena, is in last with 98 points, although I'm making it easier for him to catch up when he gets back. So that said, I will go first. Matteo will go second, and Flo will go last. And I don't want you to demo my app.
I already went through and it looks okay. So all it picked out was selfies of me, which I'm okay with showing because you all know.
Which I can't believe there were any of those on your phone. So listen, I'm gonna talk it to you straight here. All right. We have these phones. They have cameras. You are a guy or a girl, and you may like another guy or a girl. The temptation to use that camera and share parts of yourself is omnipresent. It is a whether we like it or not, it is what's occurring in culture now. And what happens, and the byproduct of that is you end up with photos on your phone that maybe you don't want other people to see. And oftentimes when you are, you're hanging out in a group of friends and you're like, oh my God, I took the funniest photo the other day. You got to see it. And you open up the Photos app and oops, you just showed everybody something you don't want them to see. You can protect yourself from that with this app. It is called Nude. Auto hide private photos and videos. This is actually an app that it's a rebranding. It was an app called Gymnos, which they've rebranded as Nude, which I think is a much better name. And as you can see here with Flo Got It, what this allows you to do is when you install it, you can scan your phone for any potentially not safe for work photos, as well as videos, and it will identify those photos and videos, and you can either hide them manually or you can have them hidden automatically. And what they'll do is they will sequester those images in a private gallery that only you can unlock via a PIN or fingerprint unlock. But the main point to make here is that data never leaves your phone. So nothing happening on this app is connecting to a server, uploading your photos to anything. It's all happening locally on your phone. What it's using is using some machine learning and AI to analyze photos. I ran the scan on my phone, and I got a whole lot of pictures of babies because there was a lot of skin involved. So that's fair. I also got some photos of people on vacation and in bathing suits and things like that, which I expect. I did not have any illicit content on my phone, so I wasn't able to thoroughly confirm it hides the boobs or not. But Flo did it on her phone, and she's willing to share the results. So let's see what happens.
So interestingly, my hidden gallery has nothing in it.
Cool. Well, you haven't did you move anything over?
And my scan result is just these two selfies I took over Thanksgiving.
So now and now can you hide those? Now you hit the switch up top.
Let's see.
Oh, that does that. Yeah.
Hide selected.
Yep.
An ad will pop up in 2 seconds.
There is an ad.
Ooh, we're not.
Apologies. Yeah. You can unlock that by paying the in-app purchase, by the way. So that is an option. Support your devs.
Not all nudes getting detected. Click yes to see more results.
Don't do that. Anyway,
no. Let's
avoid the live demo. It worked on my phone. I had no problem with it. So it is called Nude, auto hide private photos and videos. Let's be honest. You've got the stuff on your phone. Protect it. So there you go.
I actually, Ron, looked at this app the other day because
it's fair.
It's it just.
I was glad that it all happens locally. That was my main. That was my main concern.
Yeah.
So.
Well, look, I've been sending pictures of my belly to my best friend, and just want to make sure it doesn't exit that exchange between two of us.
So listen, a vote this week in the arena for me is a vote for nudes. That's all I'm going to say. All right, Matteo. So now, earlier in the show, I teased the fact that Victor and Matteo and Burke and everybody thinks, oh, it's so funny. Let's do goats and blah blah blah. But what's going to happen right now is a major point in time because Matteo is breaking his streak. This is the this is the equivalent of Cal Ripken sitting down and not playing in a game.
Okay, but I need to understand, why does Matteo's app need to make and manage phone calls?
That's a very good question.
Because when you're making a payment in China, there may be a voice call required to authenticate that payment.
Okay,
Why would you be making a payment for something in China with your app that features many goats, right, Matteo?
Exactly.
Wait, Matteo, why does it need access to my photos, media, and files on my device?
Because, again, it may need to verify your identity. So you may need to send pictures of your passport and other content to Ant Financial, the parent company, to verify your ID, as I have done.
To show this off, because I don't have,
Okay, I think there's some.
We're beating around the bush, Matteo. Why don't you tell everyone what
tell us what your app is, so I can.
Yes. So my app this week is not directly goat related, though you could use it to purchase a goat here in China. It's called Alipay. So some of you may have heard of Alibaba Group or AliExpress, the place Flo and I do some online shopping. Mm-hmm. So Alipay is the Chinese equivalent of a super app for payments. So it's a fairly simple app. The idea is that you use it to pay for things. China, especially Shenzhen, where I am at the moment, is essentially a cashless society. People do not use cash. They use Alipay or WeChat Pay. And Alipay is one of the biggest financial institutions at this point in China because of that facilitation of payments. Now, you may be thinking, why is Matteo taking this Chinese app into the Google from the Google Play Store into the Android app arena? The reason for that is that Alipay is now available to non-Chinese citizens, to people who do not have a Chinese bank account. For me, traveling in China, this has been a game changer, because you can essentially apply for a virtual card number from the Bank of Shanghai and load money onto it from a normal Visa or MasterCard from outside of China and use that for QR code payments. Chinese mobile payments do not use Google Pay or Apple Pay. They've gone for a much simpler, much arguably more secure solution, which is the QR code system. And for someone traveling in China, it's often frustrating, as I did last year and the year before and the year before that, not being able to use cash. Even the street food stall across the street doesn't take cash. It's only WeChat Pay or Alipay. So this is now available to people from outside of China visiting China. And the idea is that you use this super app, which is Alipay, to make those payments for taxis, the metro, public transport, even just buying a coffee or going to have your laundry done in the laundromat. It is really used everywhere. It's accepted universally here in China. And even if people don't have a business account, you can pay them with the QR code. The reason I call it a super app is that within the app, you can then add further apps. So you can install the Didi app within that, which is the equivalent of Uber for getting taxis. You can install apps for ordering food. So the Alipay app then has micro apps within it that do everything. And this is one of the interesting things about the Chinese smartphone ecosystem, is people don't use the equivalent of a Google Play Store. They trust the super apps such as Alipay or WeChat, which then has micro apps within it. So this is a really cool app. It's now available to people traveling in China. At some point, I would expect this to be available outside of China for payments. And I think this is the sign of things to come in the West as well. Having these super apps with micro apps within them. If you think about it, it's not too dissimilar to what Facebook did with their platform. But I have to say, this has been a game changer for me traveling in China, being able to use QR codes for payments. I haven't had to take cash out. And if you are traveling in China, a word of warning, MasterCard and Visa are practically not accepted. There are very, very few places that do, and very few ATMs that do. So Alipay for people traveling to China is a big thing. And I think this is a sign of things that will be coming to Western markets at some point, is a super app that then allows you to install other apps on top of it. Apps that often use payments will then be within the app itself. So that's Alipay from Alipay Hangzhou Technology Company Limited. They're one of their offices here in Shenzhen is a skyscraper just a few doors down. So I'm going to go and see if they have any other interesting vending machines that I can use QR codes for. But it is really universally accepted here in China. And I think that this is a big bit of news for the app world, having Alipay available to people from outside China. So that's my app in the arena. It breaks with my tradition of goat apps. But as I said, it's indirectly related because you could buy a goat using your Alipay app here.
My question to you now, does this mean that have you reached the end of the road for goat apps?
We need to see. So if Coffee Stain Studios don't release a new version of the Goat Simulator by the next time I'm on All About Android, I might build a Goat app myself.
All right. I'm just saying, end of an era. I don't know the numbers of the streak, but I'm sure maybe somebody can go back and go through how many Goat apps in a row Matteo brought to the arena. But this is a major sad day for you Goat fans, and ironic that as a Goat joins us at the table that this happens. So disappointing.
In honor of the history and lore that this has on All About Android, I think that a vote for Alipay is still a vote for Team GG&G. That's Goats, Gina, and guests.
Hey, I use my Google Voice number, by the way, to sign up for that. So now, if and when I go overseas, I will have Alipay ready on my Google Voice number, which works through Hangouts. I had the verification code sent that way and everything. So can't read anything because Mandarin? It's in Mandarin?
It's in Chinese simplified text, which, yes, it is Mandarin.
Okay. But anyway, I'm going to install it immediately after the show.
But the English version is not fully localized yet. I've provided feedback on a few bits that are missing. I'm using the
international version because I'm international. See, here I'm international.
Aren't we all?
All right, Flo, why don't you wrap us up?
All righty. So I am still a major... Sorry, I'm doing three things at once. All right. Okay. I am still a major user of the quick settings panel. I am still going in there, digging in, putting my app shortcuts in there. And with Android 10, I've had to make a couple of adjustments. I kind of lost some of the tiles that I was using. But the other day I saw that this app came through and I really love it because of the customization that it gives you. And you all know how much I love my icon packs and just, being able to kind of put little pieces of myself across the UI. So I installed this app called Tile Shortcuts, Quick Setting Apps and Shortcuts, which is quite a mouthful. And you definitely have to type it in as this way if you want to find it in the Play Store, because of course there are a lot of tile apps, but I really like this one. I like this one that I brought one into the arena maybe 2 years ago that I'm not really using anymore. And I found that this one works impeccably with Android 10. So right now I have a shortcut for Android Auto, which, as you know, I've talked about it on this show. It's what I use as my interface to get here and home. So this shows you active and inactive tile. This is an active tile right now. And actually, it's up here on my second page. So I have it right here in between my screen recorder app and my dark theme ability. So that's where I've plopped the Android Auto. Now let's create a new one. All right, let's figure it out together. So you can create a tile from an app, an intent. Remember, we talked about intents on last week's show. Shortcuts, URL. I'm kind of curious to see what these intents can do, so let's explore this together. I actually haven't tried this one. Okay, it requires me to know a little bit more about Android development than I do, so we're not going to do that. Just kidding. We're gonna do an app instead. So let's look at the millions of apps that I have installed. We could always put Alipay up there. How about let's put the Android TV remote app, okay? Because sometimes you need that, right? Because the Bluetooth dies on the Mi Box remote for whatever reason. Still happening to me. So now you'll be able to pick an icon that goes up into the quick tile settings. So I guess I like these icons. You can change the boldness. You can go in and add a custom icon from your recent photos. You can choose from a preset icons that they offer, which are just numbers and letters. Or you can go in for an icon pack. And I always have these two installed because I like to use them when I have a different launcher on. And let's see, what do we have in here? Unfortunately, there is no icon for Android TV in this icon pack, so that's a bummer. Okay. So let's just go back to default. All right, we're just going to go to this default one here. You can also do a little bit of extra show as enabled. So that means you will always see it colored in versus when you go into the quick settings panel and you see like it's not colored in. I just prefer it to have it colored in. You can select whether to have it vibrate on touch or you can use a colored icon, but you have to use that with the MIUIFI app. So this is from the same makers as that one. There's also the ability to do an advanced edit, which lets you choose the outline radius, the outline threshold, and the scale of the icon inside as you like. You can choose if you want an edge or not. Save it. All right, boom, fab. It's in there. Android TV, active tile. So now we're just going to go down as we usually would to add something. And it's right here is tile number 2. Okay, we put it in there. And now it's right there next to focus mode. Android TV. Boom. There we go. Not connected because I'm not at home. So there you go. Tile shortcuts, quick settings, apps, and shortcuts. Just a nice little utility to add in there if the app that you have does not have the quick settings ability, because everybody knows that what you want out of your app is still a little more convenience. And also, it does offer in-app purchases, which I did pay 99 cents. So 99 cents to support your devs.
All right. Good stuff. Good app flow. So what's it going to be? Is it going to be Tile Shortcuts, Alipay, or Nude? You can vote at twit.to/AAA poll 449. That's twit.to/AA poll 449. What is Victor going to vote for? I think Victor likes nudes. That's just my guess. But he might play it safe and go Tile Shortcuts.
I just like that we've been able to make a bunch of nudie jokes in the last bit of this. So
I figure I go out 2 directions. I can go either really helpful app or we could go lowbrow.
It's the end of the year. We can go lowbrow.
Yeah. So, yeah. But I would like to note before we say goodbye to Matteo, thanks to Uncle Bick in the chat room, who identifies that he thinks there have been 14 GOAT apps. And so that's a streak of 14 arenas with GOAT apps that has come to an end tonight. It is a sad day for fans of Team GG&G as the GOAT run has come to an end. But Matteo, your time on the show, while tonight has come to an end, will not come to an end in general. Thank you for joining us and filling in for Jason while he's gone and for all the great hardware and all that stuff. And I'm not acknowledging what's going on screen right now either. Matteo, where can people find you? Where can they see more about your adventures in Shenzhen?
So I'm on the Tech Travel Geeks YouTube channel. This is what we're focusing on at the moment. We're doing videos not just about consumer electronics and specifically smartphones for travel. We've been covering a lot of actual travel content. So we've been doing a lot of foods courts in Singapore and here in China, highlighting some of the delicious food that's available here. And you can follow me on Twitter at Todoleo, Todoleo. And so at the moment, I'm really enjoying nighttime photography here in Asia using smartphones, and having some really interesting insights into what's happening in the Asian markets when it comes to the Android ecosystem. So thanks for having me again. Thanks to Victor for keeping the goats lore going. And please do pass on my regards to Jason. Is it a coincidence that he was in Hawaii during the Snapdragon Summit? Do you think he was wearing a trench coat and a hat and a fake moustache to try and get in?
I think he was. I think he was busy making cakes.
Oh, okay. So
making
that's what the
5G
connection
cakes.
is.
Yeah, there.
Or he was enjoying his time with his beautiful family, as we all should in this very busy world.
Exactly.
I just wanted to also note that we're paying PG&E to put up this goat TV.
I will propose that with the end of the goat streak in the arena comes the end of the goat joke. Let's just put that out there. Anyway.
But what's my purpose of existence now?
Matteo, you have more purpose than the goats. Give yourself some credit.
That's something you'll need to wrestle with on the flight back home, Matteo. We can't solve that for you.
Listen, Matteo, you are our international phone correspondent. We really appreciate you bringing the devices that we don't have access to because, our country gets political and bans things. So thank you for all of the insightful, in-depth info that you bring and all of the photos that you brought too. Those are really, once again, Huawei impresses me with their hardware, and we don't get it here in the U.S.
Yeah.
Ron, I want to hear what you are up to.
I'm not up to much. It has been a busy November into December. I'm very much looking forward to the holidays. Follow me on Instagram at RonXO or on Twitter at RonXO. I'm going to start posting lots of pictures of Christmas trees because I'm excited it's the holidays.
Yes, it's that time of year. Yes.
Nothing else really to explain. But Flo, what's going on in the Flo feed?
The Flow feed I actually haven't updated because I definitely took a much needed rest over Thanksgiving holiday. I slept a lot. I played a lot of Pokemon. I got 3 gym badges. So thank you to me. Also, I wrote guides. If you're looking for the best infant car seat, the best convertible car seat, or the best stroller for your baby, you can go to Tom's Guide because I wrote all those.
I wish I had looked because we're getting the next level up.
Yep.
And I was researching. I used Wirecutter. Had I known, I would have used Tom's Guide.
Well, I did a mix. I went and I looked at the TSA, so the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, and looked at all the reviews, and I I did a lot of work on it. So anyway, if you're interested in seeing what I'm probably going to end up buying for my eventual little package of thing coming, you can go check that out at Tom's Guide. And of course, I'm here on All About Android. I'm on the Relay FM network on Material Podcast and honestlytechpod.com. Honestly Tech is coming back soon. I am editing the next episode this week. We're coming back for the holidays, and then I will take a break again. So, considered an episodic podcast.
Do seasons.
Kind of seasons. Yeah. We just kind of come in. There's, it's a lot of work to do your own podcast by yourself. As I'm sure Ron can attest.
Yes, indeed.
So, and as for us here in the studio, I just want to thank so much Victor for being our TD today and for coming in with all of the jokes and the bumpers and the links that we needed. So thank you very much.
What jokes? Just kidding. But I don't know. As far as with the goats thing, I put this in one of the inputs and I don't know how to switch it back. So it might be permanent.
That's literally Goat TV now. Great.
Yeah.
Well,
Goat TV.
Well, also just want to thank the rest of the good staff here for putting together this lovely table and helping me plug in the smart display. I think that's about it for us from All About Android this week. We will be back next week with our king Jason Howell to lead us into greatness. So that is it for this week. Now, this podcast publishes every Tuesday evening, so you'll be able to listen to us right after this live stream is finished, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also subscribe at twit.tv/AAA. You can leave us a voicemail. You guys haven't been leaving us voicemails, which bumps us out. 347-SHOW AAA. You just call us in. Don't be shy. Or you can email us, AAA@twit.tv. We love to get those in from you. Finally, follow us, twit.tv on socials. You can find us on Twitter @twit or on Instagram @twit.tv. And the Instagram one is quite a lot of fun. A lot of behind-the-scenes looks at what the hosts are here doing in the middle of the day. And I guess that pretty much settles it. That's it from us here at All About Android. So until next week, have a great week, everybody. And watch out for those scary apps.